Hello everyone, Oliver Twist here. Welcome back to the channel. I've received a ton of your questions about how to get started with programming. Some of you are totally new to this world, while others are looking for some reminders. So, today, we're going to break down the fundamental programming basics, the foundational concepts you absolutely need to know to begin your coding journey. We'll talk about the essential building blocks that make up every single program out there. Think of it like learning the alphabet before you can write a novel. These concepts might seem simple at first, but trust me, mastering them is super important. We'll dive into 7 key areas: variables, data types, conditions, loops, functions, input, output, and comments. Don't worry if some of these terms sound scary. We'll break them down step by step, making sure you understand how each one works and why it matters. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid grasp of the basics and be ready to tackle your first lines of code. Let's get started. Okay, first let's talk about variables. Think of variables as containers for your data. Imagine them like labeled boxes where you can store different kinds of information. You could have a variable called name to hold a user's name like Oliver, or a variable called age to store a number like 25. The beauty of variables is that you can access and modify the data they hold throughout your program. You can change the value of age from 25 to 26 as needed. It's like having dynamic storage units within your code. And trust me, you'll be using variables constantly in your coding journey. They're fundamental to how your code stores and manages information. Now, each of those storage containers we talked about, those variables, needs to know what kind of stuff it holds, right? That's where data types come in. Data types define the nature of the information a variable can store. The most common types you'll encounter are integers for whole numbers, floats for numbers with decimal points, strings for text, and booleans for true or false values. It's like specifying whether your box holds books, clothes, or electronics. Each type requires different handling. Understanding data types is crucial for writing code that works correctly and efficiently. Okay, now let's teach our code to think a little. This is where conditions come in, specifically if statements. Imagine you're writing a program to check if someone is old enough to vote. You'd use an if statement to check if their age is greater than or equal to 18. If it is, they're good to go. If not, you might display a message saying they need to wait a little longer. Conditions allow your program to make choices and execute different sets of code based on specific criteria. It's like setting up forks in the road for your program's logic to follow. Now, imagine having to write the same line of code 100 times. Yikes. This is where loops come in handy. Loops let you repeat a block of code multiple times, saving you from tons of repetitive typing. There are 2 main types of loops: for loops and while loops. For loops are great when you know exactly how many times you want to repeat something, like printing all the numbers from 1 to 10. While loops, on the other hand, continue as long as a certain condition is true. Mastering loops is key to automating tasks and writing efficient code. Chapter 5. Functions, your code's reusable toolkit. Let's talk about functions. They're essential for writing clean and organized code. Think of functions as mini-programs within your main program. Each function performs a specific task, like calculating the area of a circle or sending an email. The beauty is you can write a function once and then use it over and over again throughout your code. It's like having a toolkit of reusable code modules you can call upon whenever you need them. Functions promote code reusability and make your programs much easier to maintain. Chapter 6. Input-Output, talking to your program. Now, let's make our programs a little more interactive. Input-Output, or I/O for short, is all about handling user interaction. Input lets your program receive data from the user, like typing their name or selecting an option. Output, on the other hand, is how your program displays information back to the user, like printing text to the screen or generating a report. Mastering input-output is crucial for building engaging and user-friendly applications. Chapter 7. Comments, leaving notes for your future self. Finally, let's talk about comments. Comments are lines of code that your computer completely ignores. They're just for humans. Think of them as notes you leave within your code to explain what's going on. Trust me, when you come back to your code after weeks, months, or even years, you'll be thankful you left these breadcrumbs. Comments are essential for making your code more understandable and maintainable, both for yourself and for others who might work with it in the future. Your coding journey starts now. All right, folks, we've covered a lot today. We explored the fundamental building blocks of programming: variables, data types, conditions, loops, functions, input, output, and comments. Mastering these basics is like laying the foundation for a skyscraper. It's the crucial first step in becoming a programmer. Now, you might be wondering where to go from here. Well, the best way to learn is by doing. There are tons of beginner-friendly programming languages out there like Python, JavaScript, and C++. Pick a language that interests you, fire up a code editor, and start experimenting with what you've learned today. Thanks for watching and happy coding. I'll catch you in the next video. Goodbye.